You're listening to Missing Persons, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, DNA ID, Zodiac Speaking, Scene of the Crime, Beyond Bizarre True Crime, Citizen Detective, and Campus Killings. All of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the podcast, its creators, or sponsors. If you would like to discuss a missing persons case on this podcast, please be sure to visit missingpersonspodcast.net. This episode may contain unsettling or disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
If you'd like to support Missing Persons and get VIP access to things like ad-free listening, early preview episodes, and bonus content of not only this show, but for every other podcast on the AbJack network of indie podcasts, consider subscribing to the show with an AbJack Insider subscription through Apple Podcast. For only $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year, you'll unlock a variety of listener benefits, and you'll be supporting the show in the process. Your support is greatly appreciated. Hey everyone, this is one of your hosts, Mike Morford. I just want to let our listeners know that both Jess and I are really busy getting ready for the annual CrimeCon True Crime Convention in Nashville the last weekend of May. We'll both be on Podcast Row. Jess will be there repping her show DNA ID, and I'll be there to rep my show Criminology. But if you're a Missing Persons fan and you're at CrimeCon, please stop by and say hi to Jess and I. We'd love to see you, and I'm sure we'll have some sort of Missing Persons merch to give out. And since we're both getting ready for CrimeCon, our schedule's a little bit hectic leading up to it, which means we don't have a new case to present to you this week. Instead, we're re-releasing a previous episode from not very long ago, with a very big update on the case. It's the David Schultz case that we released in episode 87 in January of this year. Sadly, the update does not contain good news. David's remains were found in a field on April 24th, about a mile from where his abandoned 18-wheeler truck was found. Our thoughts go out to David's family. This certainly wasn't the outcome they wanted. An initial autopsy revealed no obvious signs of trauma to his body or foul play, and full autopsy results could take several weeks to come back. David was laid to rest this week, and his family is pursuing a second autopsy using the data collected from the first one. It's unclear what exactly happened to David Schultz, and whether his death was a case of foul play or not. It's one of the more bizarre cases we've covered on this podcast. There's still a lot of questions to be answered. Some of those questions being what happened to David, and how did he wind up dead in a field so close to where he went missing from? And how did organized searches in that area fail to turn up his body? Was his body there the entire time? Early reports are that searchers looking for David were told that the field he was found in had already been searched. This case is a real head-scratcher, and David's family may never have all the answers, but hopefully they take some comfort in having his remains back, and that they were able to give him a proper funeral. So as you listen to this re-release, whether it's for the first time, or you listen to it the first time around, some of the things we discuss in this episode may now be clear, while other things certainly are not, and there may be even more questions than there were before. Thanks for listening to this episode, and we'll see you back here again soon.
Sarah Schultz was immediately unnerved when a man banged on the door of her Wall Lake, Iowa home around 10 a.m. on Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. The man, named Les, was a regular employer of her husband, 53-year-old David Schultz. David was a trucker, an owner-operator livestock hauler who had been contracted to drive a load of baby pigs from Les's hog farm in Eagle Grove to Weichman's Hog Buying Station, a livestock dealer in Sac City, 90 miles southwest of Des Moines. But Les had never once in the 10 years David had been working for him shown up at the Schultz home. He told Sarah that David, his truck, and Les's pigs had never shown up at the delivery location, and Les had not heard from David. Sarah hadn't either. Sarah last saw her husband on Monday, December 20th, around 7 p.m., before he left their home to go on a trucking run. It wasn't uncommon for David to be gone overnight. Sarah didn't always know the route he was driving. It changed daily. But Sarah did know that David, who was known for his work ethic and dependability, would never just not show up with a load of livestock. And most of the time, he wouldn't pull over to sleep with a loaded trailer either. Sarah went on high alert. She spent the next few hours calling David's cell phone, which rang, but he never answered. Les, meanwhile, went out and drove the roads that David might have driven, but there was no sign of him. Sarah reported David missing to Lakeview Police at 2:23 p.m. Within a half hour, Sarah got a call from David's cell phone. She quickly answered, but it wasn't David on the other end of the line. It was a police officer telling her that they found David's rig. According to the Storm Lake Times-Pilot, David's truck was found around 3 p.m. on November 21st by a Sac County secondary road employee. He called it in at 3:04 p.m. The police responded because the truck was abandoned, sitting in the middle of the road. It was parked in a traffic lane on northbound U.S. Highway 71, about 3 miles north of its intersection with U.S. Highway 20. Highway 71 is a rural 2-lane highway that turns into a dirt road just 3 miles north of where the truck was. David had no reason to drive that way, as it was about 5 miles in the wrong direction. He should have been heading south to Sac City. The truck wasn't running, but was just sitting in the road, still loaded with all the baby pigs David had picked up the night before. Inside the cab of the truck, the police found the keys, David's phone, which the officer had used to call Sarah, his earbuds, and his wallet containing his ID and a significant amount of cash. His coat, which the officer asked Sarah to describe, was in a roadside ditch near the truck with a knife and a small towel in the pocket. But there was no sign of David. Police immediately launched a search of the area for the missing man. They brought in search dogs, flew Iowa State Patrol planes equipped with thermal imaging overhead throughout Tuesday night, and scoured the area using foot patrol and drones. Meanwhile, David's friends, family, and community volunteers fanned out to search the area around the truck. The police stopped searching when David wasn't found, but on Friday, the United Cajun Navy, a volunteer search and rescue group, commenced a large-scale search of 100,000 acres surrounding the truck. According to the Storm Lake Times-Pilot, Jake Rowley, the Midwest team leader for the United Cajun Navy, led 150 volunteers with a dozen horses and ATVs, canvassing surrounding areas of Wright, Webster, Calhoun, and Sac counties. On December 1st, they found a man who had gone missing from nearby Calhoun County in October. Mark Reesberg had completed suicide by gunshot to the head inside his P2 Cruiser, which searchers for David Schultz located in a remote wooded area in Jolly. But no trace of David was located. After this massive search, Jake Rowley said he felt strongly that they would have found David if he were in the area. On Sunday, his organization posted on its Facebook page, quote, "Unfortunately, we did not find the answers we are all hoping and praying for so much. We feel we may have exhausted any potential search locations in the area," end quote. On Monday, the United Cajun Navy paused their efforts when the Iowa Department of Criminal Investigation, or DCI, stepped in to join the search for David. They joined the Sac County Sheriff's Office, which had been spearheading the investigation, and the Lakeview Police Department. Those agencies worked together to reconstruct David's trip using location information from his phone and investigated all the areas they knew he had gone. According to a media release by the Sac County Sheriff's Office, quote, "Detectives from the Sac County Sheriff's Office and the Lakeview Police traveled to the Eagle Grove area, and with the assistance from the Wright County Sheriff's Office, located the hog confinement that Schultz was scheduled to load from. Load crew members were interviewed, and load records were obtained. Investigators learned that Schultz had picked up his load but had been late to arrive, and he was the last truck loaded. Schultz left at about 10:50 p.m. According to WHO Des Moines, investigators searched Les's hog farm, and the manure pit under the hogs was pumped and drained. "The pit has been pumped. That was scheduled to be pumped anyway," said Sac County Sheriff Kenneth McClure. So we learned that he made it, he loaded, and he left. The sheriff's statement said that David left the hog farm with his truck loaded with pigs at about 10:50 p.m. on Tuesday night. The sheriff's official statement continues, quote, investigators obtained video footage of David Schultz at 11:15 p.m. on November 21st, 2023, at the mile marker 126 truck stop east of Fort Dodge on Highway 20. Schultz is there for 16 minutes before leaving the truck stop, end quote. Sarah tells us that this appeared to be a normal pit stop. The store was closed. David didn't interact with anyone. He appeared to be looking for something inside his truck. He drank something and he scrolled through his phone. The statement from the sheriff continues, quote, he is then seen on a DOT camera on Highway 20 west of mile marker 126 truck stop heading west. This was the last time David Schultz was seen. Cell phone data obtained from David Schultz's phone corroborates this timeline, end quote. The DOT camera showed David's truck heading west on Highway 20 at the Colville-Fort Dodge exit. Cell phone records confirm the truck traveled west towards Sac City, but instead of turning left toward the truck destination, it turned north for 5 miles. It traveled north to the intersection of Highway 20 and Highway 71 at about 12:18 a.m. His truck was later found at this location. Investigators verified that the truck stopped at the location where it was found at around 12:40 a.m. It was found in the same spot 15 hours later. This video shows that David Schultz never made it to Weichman's, McClure's statement said. Law enforcement has searched for additional video footage from Eagle Grove to Fort Dodge, but has not located any. The Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation confirmed that David Schultz has not legally gone through a U.S. border crossing. Information was received that a person named David Schultz had a one-way flight from Minneapolis to Phoenix, Arizona, on the late afternoon of November 21st, 2023. Working with the Minneapolis Airport Police and the airline, it was determined after viewing video footage of the gate and receiving ticketing information that it was not the David Schultz that is missing. DCI continues to assist in the examination of other digital evidence that has been obtained or requested through a subpoena or search warrant. A separate release from the Sheriff's Office stated, "We greatly appreciate the outpouring of community support and willingness to assist with the continuing search for David Schultz. We ask that those who are searching their properties to be cognizant not to continue searches on the properties of others. Law enforcement will be continuing to expand the search area and continue this investigation in the coming days." David's truck did not have a dash cam. Investigators towed and searched the truck, and according to WHO Des Moines, Sheriff McClure said they did not find blood in the cab. "We found some things that we've sent to the DCI crime lab for DNA analysis, but we have none of those results back," said McClure. That was 6 weeks ago. Whether they have received any lab results at this time is unknown. Sarah tells us that the investigators have not been in contact with her other than one quick visit from a DCI agent. She is frustrated and consumed with worry for her husband. She says that David would absolutely not just leave her and the kids. The couple shares twin 10-year-old sons Isaac and Joseph, and David was a devoted stepfather to Sarah's 2 children from her previous relationship. David was looking forward to Thanksgiving, when her daughter Sabrina would be visiting with her son Nico, Sarah and David's grandson. Sarah has known David for much of her life and knows him to be reliable, dependable, stable, and also somewhat dependent on her and their relationship. He was very much a homebody. His Facebook profile picture is the big red rig he was fixing up and one of his kids. No one in his life would do him harm, Sarah tells us. She believes that someone abducted David for unknown reasons. David Schultz is a white male, about 5'11" tall and weighing 180 pounds. He has brown hair and brown eyes and is clean-shaven. Sarah recalls that he was last wearing Wrangler jeans and cowboy boots and possibly a Peterbilt hat. Crime Stoppers is offering a $2,000 reward for information on David's whereabouts. Sarah is raising money to add to the reward fund. In addition, Sarah's cousin has established a GoFundMe called Family of David Schultz, Missing Iowa Trucker, to help her support the family in David's absence. Any information regarding David's whereabouts can be reported to the Lakeview Police Department by phone at 712-657-2513. Mike Morford sat down with Sarah Schultz, David Schultz's wife, to talk about her husband's case. That conversation is coming up after a word from our sponsors.
Hi, Sarah, and welcome to Missing Persons. I want to thank you for coming on to discuss your husband David's case with us.
Hello.
I'm happy to have you here. I know this must be a very tough time for you and your family, especially over the holidays here, not knowing what happened to David, and we want to do our best to help you get the word out, and find out what happened here, and hopefully someone listening has knowledge or information that's going to help, and they'll come forward with that. I know you've done a lot of news stories, you've been interviewed and stuff. How have you been able to get through this very tough time that you've experienced?
Oh, I have a pretty good support system in my community. I'm lucky to I live where I was born, basically in the same county, and so I'm just living here my whole life, and a lot of friends. My husband too, he's from Sac County, and we have a lot of friends and family here, thankfully, and my town too. The whole town's been supportive, and people stopping by, and I get cards in the mail, and just so many people reaching out with prayers and concern, and I guess I just feel like God is so evident in this. It's really opened my eyes, just because so many people care so much and want him found, and they're just so concerned for me. Strangers from like all over the world have reached out, and they can't stop thinking about his disappearance and what might have happened. And so it's exhausting though. Every day is exhausting. Just having the worry and having to go through, like, just see triggers, every day that remind me of him. And it's exhausting, but it also it's nice to see how many people care about me and my family as well.
And I can't imagine the stress that you're under with this ordeal, and having those people to help you by your side has to be something that's, a good thing to have during a tough time like this.
Yeah, just people. I guess I wrote in one of my posts that God puts people in your path and you don't even know. But I mean, people from when I was like 15 years old, like, come reaching out to me, and the people I met that long ago, because I'm 45 now, and that was a long time ago, and we're still remain friends, but not in close contact. But they've popped up again. Just they care so much.
I imagine that this story's made national headlines, but around your area especially, it must be, front page every
Oh,
day
yeah.
discussion.
Anytime I go anywhere, like, people just grab me and hug me, like I don't even know them, and they're like, "I know you don't know me, but I'm praying for you," and like, it's I can't go anywhere without somebody just saying that, giving condolences or giving me something, whether it be like, I don't know, a gift certificate or gift card, or just a simple card saying that they're thinking of me. It's truly, I guess I never would have imagined if something like this would happen to me.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the community itself. What kind of area is this, and how many people live in that area? From what I've been able to gather, it's not a huge city by any stretch, but it seems like it's more of a place where people know one another.
Oh, absolutely.
What is that community like?
Tight-knit community. The town I work in, Lakeview, is right next to Wall Lake. I think there's 1,100 people, and there's even less in Wall Lake, and um, very tight-knit. I mean, everyone knows everyone, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's home.
Yeah. And what is the crime rate like there? Do things like this happen very often? I can't imagine they do, but
No, no, no. I mean, there's, as far as crime, there's stealing, maybe drugs, stuff like that. m- um, the area we live in has a pretty high uh, meth problem, just due to the fact that it's made from something that's used in uh, anhydrous ammonia. It's used to put on the fields, and so it's accessible to make it. And there's quite a lot of people that have a meth problem, but other than that, there's no. I can't think of any murders or kidnappings or abductions that I know of in the area for years ever. So
yeah, not the type of area we expect someone to just go missing without any explanation, like your husband
absolutely
has.
not. Yeah, it's unbelievable. When it happened, it was like uh, for days and days, it was hard to digest that he's missing. It just doesn't make sense. Still doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And we're going to get into the mystery of what exactly happened, the clues, what police have, if anything, to work with the latest developments or all of that. But before we get into all that stuff, can you tell us a little bit about Dave himself?
Oh yeah, I've known Dave since probably 15 years old. He actually dated one of my best friend's sister for a while when they were in high school, and um but I kind of lost touch with them throughout the years. And so about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, I was invited to my friend's birthday party, and or my friend's husband's birthday party, and my friend who dated Dave actually ended up marrying his best friend. So at that birthday party, we all had a great time. And she said to me, "Dave's going home with you, Sarah. He's too drunk to drive home." And I was like, "What? He doesn't seem that drunk to me, but whatever." And he came to my house and basically never left. And it was just pretty a whirlwind. I'd been single for a while and had two children at home, and he just fit right in. And we got married about a year later. And while we were engaged, we talked about having children. And I'd had my tubes tied after I had my son, because I had a boy and a girl, and I'm very fertile. But so I had my tubes tied at a pretty young age, and found out the insurance I had covered in vitro. And so your choices are either try to have that process undone or do in vitro. Well, if you have the process undone and it doesn't work, you're going to do in vitro anyway. So I just did in vitro, and they implanted two eggs, and I ended up having twin boys. Um, so we were married within about a year, and about a year and a half, I got pregnant, and we had our twins. So ended up being a family of six pretty quickly. And um, it's kind of hard being a truck driver's wife, especially when you have twins. It's kind of like being a single mom. He was gone quite a bit when they were little, trying to, make money. And so what I loved about him was he's so good with kids. He has little ways he talks to them. He calls little kids, "Hey squirrel," or "little buddy," or "sweetheart, darling." He's just so good with kids. And what attracted him to me, or me to him to me, is that he knew what a good mom I was. And he always said, "Sarah, you're the first girl I ever dated that wasn't nuts." I'm serious. Like, you're normal. And I don't know. We had a great relationship. It wasn't perfect by any means, but um, we fit together well. He's a very codependent person. He doesn't like to sleep alone, or be alone for that matter. And um, one of the stories I tell of how codependent he is this summer I took the boys to a water park, local water park, and um, I got a page. Sarah Schultz, you have a phone call. I knew it was him, and I went and got out of the lazy river and got my phone and said, "What do you need, honey?" And he said, "Where's my razor? Do you know where my razor is?" He called me to find his razor. Like he's very codependent. He can't, he's he goes and goes and goes. He goes 100 miles an hour. Um, he's the type of person, like, if he can't find something right away, he like panics. It's not here. Someone took it. Someone moved it. You can't. So, and I'm the type that's like, calm down. Where did you last use it? It's got to be here somewhere. We complimented each other like that. Um,
It sounds like for the most of the past decade, you've been just a normal family, working, raising kids
yeah, I mean,
together, and
we'd
having a normal
already,
relationship.
we'd done the bar scene and the single life long enough, and we knew what we wanted and for a significant other, and we had it. We were living our dream, and especially him, to the fact that like he had just bought another Peterbilt and was fixing it up, and this is like one that he always wanted. And he's driving that red one, but he's working on this yellow one that he bought to try to get it to where he wanted it,
Hmm.
personalized. And he only needed like a headlight for it. That's it. It's like done. And he had goals. Some people said, oh, maybe he wanted someone stated, oh, maybe he wanted a cheap divorce or something like that. He didn't want a divorce. He's very happy with his life. He had children that he wanted. I mean, to the point where we did in vitro. It wasn't just the regular way, it wasn't an accident. It was very on purpose. And he didn't walk away from his life. I don't know how to like state that enough. I know there's cases where maybe a man did walk away, but he didn't walk away from his life. He loved trucking. He loved his family. He loved his community. Um, he loves Wall Lake, where we live, our neighbors. His mom and dad live in Sac, and like I said, he's kind of codependent. He calls them at least once a week. I mean, he didn't just walk away. Someone took him. Someone did something to him. I know.
That makes this
And
all even more bizarre. This entire case.
yeah, I mean, he left in his truck was his wallet, complete with his ID. Um, his coat that was found in the ditch across the road had a pocket knife and a towel in it. I suspect whoever did this to him, it was probably a challenge, because even though he's in his 50s, he's in great shape. Like, a lot of people even say, like, well, he sure doesn't look like he's 53. No, he doesn't. And he can run faster than the boys while he's wearing his cowboy boots. Like, he's in good physical shape because of the work he does. So I'm sure it wasn't too easy to get him, but I suspect his coat came off while they were trying to take him.
And we're going to talk about all of that and all the clues and all the things that make you believe that. I just wanted to touch on one thing just for listeners. So I know there's different kinds of truck drivers. Some of them work for other companies and drive the company trucks.
Yeah.
Some of them drive long distance and come home after a week. But from the sounds of it, he owned his own trucks, operated his own trucks. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's an owner operator. These are things that I just learned when being with David. I didn't know much about the trucking industry or livestock hauling. He is a owner operator, and he hauls livestock, and that could be pigs or cows. Um, and he generally worked locally in the state. He didn't go out of state very much at all. He was sometimes gone at night, because like he would have maybe more than one load a day, usually one in the morning, one in the afternoon. In the morning, that means like 6 a.m. Like, he would have to leave at 5, 6 a.m. real early, sometimes 4. So sometimes if he worked till like 12 or 1, then he would just go to his next location and sleep so that he wouldn't be late, because he always worried that he would oversleep and be late, and he didn't want to be late. He took pride in that, so it was not unusual for him to be gone overnight, and I would, and the next day, and then come home at 7 o'clock at night the next night, or even maybe 2 or 3 nights a week be gone. He'd tell me, hey, I'm not going to be home tonight, but um, I didn't know his schedule from day to day either. Like he didn't either. So he usually only knew a day ahead of time what he would be doing the next day. He wouldn't know like a week ahead of time. So we just kind of had to go day by day. And that's just the way we live. Um,
So he wasn't gone for weeks at a time like some truckers are. It
no,
sounds like most nights he was home.
or he
After.
was at least in the state. Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Uh,
even in the county. I mean, he may haul a load, let's just say from Carroll to Denison, and then Denison, like let's Sioux City, Sac City to Sioux City or something like that. But it was always usually in the state.
and the truck itself is obviously going to play an important part in what we're going to be talking about. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit. And I'm sure maybe you've gone back in your mind a million times since this all happened, but leading up to when he went missing in the days or weeks before that, did everything seem normal with him? Was there anything out of character, anything unusual that looking back you think was
No,
not normal?
no, it was very normal. I mean, my daughter was home for Thanksgiving. I went and picked her up on Friday from the airport, her and her significant other and my grandson, and they were visiting, and we hadn't seen him. And well, Dave hadn't seen him in about a year and a half. I had seen him in May. I went and visited them. They're from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So they were home for the holidays for Thanksgiving. We had Thanksgiving on Sunday. Dave was working, which is not unusual. He always misses out on those things, it seems like. But Monday, we seen him for a short time. Monday night, when he came home, nothing out of the ordinary. He was running around getting a change of clothing, and he always liked to, he doesn't like to be dirty and stink and stuff. So he came home, kind of washed his hands and face, changed his clothes, and gave me a kiss. Love you, baby. See you later. And grabbed his jacket out of the porch and left. So no, absolutely not. It was all normal. That's why I really think it was just kind of a grab and go kind of thing. I don't know, but I don't think he had no inkling. I had no inkling that he wouldn't be home the next day. You know what I mean?
Like he left like he would any other time. There was
Yeah, he
nothing
was
different
hurrying
about.
around. He was actually on the phone talking to another driver. Um, I think about the load that they had in Eagle Grove, and kind of saying, because Dave was supposed to be first to load, but he was running late already because he'd already had a load earlier, and kind of threw his schedule off. And I don't know, he was running late, which happens. I mean, he hates it, but he was running late, and he knew he was running late. And so the second driver ended up being the first driver for the load, and Dave ended up being the second one. So they just adjusted it and made it okay. And so he was trying to get there, and uh, he did make it there, and he got his load. And I had no idea nothing was wrong until about 10 in the morning the next day. The guy he hauls for knocked at my door, which he never has ever done. And Dave's worked for him for, I'd say almost 10 years. Off and on. He quit for a little while, but then went back to Les. And Les asked if I had Life 360 on my phone. And I said, no, I don't. I should. I never thought about it. I always kind of thought of that app for it was like keeping track of your kids more than your husband. But now I have it in retro. So I should have had it, but I just never did. But I have it now. It is a peace of mind seeing where my kids are. But he asked if I had it on my phone, and I said, no, I don't. And he said, well, Dave's missing. I go, what do you mean he's missing? Well, he never delivered the load last night. And I go, well, maybe he's sleeping. I'll call him. And he said, yeah, while you're doing that, I'm going to go check. I'm going to drive the route, because there's two Highway 20s. There's old Highway 20 and new Highway 20. So Les spent the day going back and forth to Eagle Grove looking for Dave's truck. And I spent the day calling him, trying to get him to answer, trying to get him to wake up. I thought maybe he pulled over. He calls it to take the edge off. He'll take a little nap, and if he can't take it anymore, he'll pull over and sleep. But generally, he doesn't do that loaded. So in my heart, like, I knew something was wrong, but I didn't want to admit to it, And I just thought he would eventually pop up or call me or answer, and I called some of his friends and family asking if they'd heard from him. No one had heard from him. And Les called me at about 2:30 and said he talked to the DOT, and the DOT said to call the local police. Don't call the emergency number, just the local police, and say that you think he has a medical emergency and he's missing. So I did that right away. And within about a half hour, I got a call back from David's phone. And I thought, oh, here he is. Thank God. And it was a female officer saying that she found Dave's truck and his phone and his wallet, but he's not anywhere. And I'm like, I didn't understand that. And I'd already talked to his mechanic to see if he'd heard from him. And so I went back to his mechanic and said, do you want to go with me to go see where the truck's at and stuff? And he said, yeah. So he jumped in my car and we went to the scene. And it was so far off of 20, and it was parked north of 20, which he needed to be south of 20 to deliver this load. But it was parked about 3 miles north of Highway 20, the wrong direction. And it wasn't even pulled over at all. Like, it was just stopped in the lane. And apparently it had been turned off with no lights on. So it had been parked there from about 12:30 a.m. till when the police found it at 3:30 p.m. on the road. A big red truck that nobody turned in.
15 hours or so?
Yeah.
Now, that's what I was going to ask you about. Is that like a road that's so seldomly traveled that nobody
No,
even
yeah, it
thought,
is.
or?
And I think that has something to do with it, because 3 miles north of where he was parked, it turns to gravel. So I think that was purposeful for whoever parked it there, whether it been Dave or the person that abducted him or did whatever to him, parked it there on purpose because they knew it wasn't a well-traveled road. If you park south of it, it is very well traveled because people are going to go on Highway 20, but north of it, it's not. And at that exit where he turned right instead of left off of Highway 20, you can't see if you're driving from like Sac City south to Highway 20, because there's a bridge there that the exit is on. So you can't see coming from that way. Nobody would be able to see the driver's side because the truck would be in the way. East and west, it's empty fields. The fields have been plowed. There's nothing in them anymore, but there's no houses either. And from up above, you can't see because it's too close to the bridge. So it's the perfect place to do something to somebody because no one would see it.
Was this in a location that would have been part of his route to go where he was supposed to be going, or was this sort of
he should,
off the path?
Yeah, but he should have turned left and not right.
Hmm. So was he was basically facing the wrong direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was far off of 20, like to the point where I was like, am I on the right road? And I remember feeling that with Don, thinking, where is this truck at? Where is it at? It's supposed to be up here. And just when I got that feeling, then I saw it, the road, like I come around a bend or over a hill or something. I think it curves a little bit, the road does. And then I seen his truck. And I went back one day to show my twins where they're at, because I thought I would want to know if I was them. And I said, you want me to show you where I found where your dad's truck was parked? Yeah. We went there, and I thought at the same time, am I going the right way? Is this the right road? Even though I knew, but I remember feeling that because it was just seemed so far off of the 20. But yeah, it was off that far on purpose, I believe.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that were found in the truck or around the truck. Obviously, your husband wasn't there, but some of the stuff was. Can you recap again what things of his were found?
I know for sure the jacket was in the ditch, um, and his pocket knife and a towel. Um, his earbuds were in there that he used to listen to. I think he listened to YouTube a lot or talk radio. And then his phone and his wallet. His wallet contained about, I don't want to say the amount, but um, it was the week's worth of cash. Truckers like to carry cash for emergencies. And he had a standard amount that he brought with him, and there was no money taken. I mean, they never let me count it, but they showed it to me, and I could tell by the thickness of the stack of money that it was Monday money, it wasn't Friday money. Meaning like Friday money would be a couple $100 rather than a couple thousand. So,
Truckers
they,
need money for different expenses and stuff during
yeah,
the
and for
week.
emergencies, if they need a tow or something, they could pay cash and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
He never used credit cards, so he just had his ATM card, and then some other things that would be in his wallet, like business cards, stuff like that, pictures. Um,
The
but
fact the cash is there, the cell phone's there, the wallet's there, it seems to rule out robbery as a motive, you would
right,
think.
right, yeah, I can't. I thought about it a lot about what it could be. What I know it's not is there's not another woman. There's not gambling problem. There's not a drug problem. He didn't have enemies. I mean, I'm sure he has enemies, but not enemies enough that want to get rid of him. Nobody,
Yeah.
everyone has a problem with somebody at one time or another, but nothing like that you'd want to disappear someone. So I
Yeah.
really think it was, I don't know, ulterior motive. I don't know what.
Hmm.
Wrong place,
And
wrong time.
what about the truck itself? What was the condition of the truck? And I think I've read that the livestock was all on the truck the way they
Yeah, it
were
was
supposed
still
to be.
loaded with pigs. Yeah, so when I got there, the pigs had already been offloaded. So if a livestock hauler has issues and they can't deliver their load, they'll get another driver with a trailer and back up the trailer to the loaded trailer and then just offload them onto another trailer and um, then deliver them that way. And they had already been offloaded. The police were there. In my opinion, it should have been taped off, and then I shouldn't have even been allowed in that area. When I got there, none of that had been done. People were going in and out of the truck. I asked at one point, "Can I get in the truck?" And they said, "Yeah, go ahead." And then I stopped myself, like, "Sarah,
Mm.
this is a crime scene. You can't go in there. Don't do it." And I didn't go in the truck because it just felt wrong. So I didn't go in it. Um, they at one point the police investigator asked me to get in his car and showed me his wallet and asked me about the jacket he was wearing. And I told him the brand and what it looked like and the condition it was in. And they were getting a police dog to come search. And so they asked me that I get in my car to not contaminate the scent for the dog. So I got in my car. And at that point, my daughter had shown up with one of her friends and she jumped in my car and we were both just sick. And she said, "Mom, I'm going to throw up." And I felt like I was going to throw up too at that time. Excuse me. And I told her to throw up outside, just open the door if you got to throw up. And she threw up. And so I kept it together because I thought, well, we both can't be a mess. I'm the mom. I got to keep it together. And because Dave's like a dad to her, she called him dad, and um, So when that was over, when the dog didn't search long, he just went to where the jacket was and went to a field entrance and then stopped, like, okay, I'm done. And that makes me think he was taken right there. I asked the cops, well, what are you going to do with the truck? And they said, I don't know. Oh, they just kind of shrugged their shoulders. And I was at that time said to myself, oh, Dave, you're so fucked. To be frank, that's what I said, because they don't even know what to do with the truck. So I said, well, Don can drive it back because that's where Dave parks his truck. He normally, we live in town and you can't park a semi on the street, so he parks a couple blocks away at his mechanics, and his pickup truck stays there when he's working. And then when he's done, he parks his pickup and he parks his semi and jumps in his pickup and comes home. So that's kind of where it lives when he's not working. And so I said, well, Don can take it back to his shop if you don't know what to do with it. So he did that. And then a couple days later, they towed it without telling me. And which I wouldn't have cared. Like if they would have just said, hey, we're going to search his truck, that's fine, but I already have him missing. What if I'd gone down there and to look at the truck and it wasn't there? Like, I don't need that kind of stress. It would have been nice to know. And so Don came the next day and said, did you know they took the semi? I said, what? He said, I knew they didn't tell you. They said they were going to tell you because he heard about it. He wasn't even at the shop when they towed it. And his friend was there and he called Don and said, they're taking Dave's truck. And Don said, give him the phone. And he said, did you tell Sarah you're going to take that truck? And they said, oh, we will. And they never did. They didn't even tell me. And when it came time, when they were done searching the truck, they said, yeah, you can go get it. I said, well, where's the keys? Well, they're in the truck or they're at Denny's, which is where it was parked, Denny's Texaco. So Don and I go the next day. The keys aren't in there, and Denny doesn't have them. I find a cop. He doesn't know where they are. And they said, well, we'll call you. And so a few hours later, I get a call. We have your keys. They were at we have them. You want to come get them? I said, I'm done. You can bring them to me now. And they brought him to me in a specimen bag, which, I'm a victim, to get those keys in a specimen bag. It was just devastating. So it's like a reminder, I don't know if I'm being over dramatic, but you have to walk a mile in my shoes. And the police don't talk to me at all. The last time I talked to them was December 9th.
And is that because they're not responding to you?
Oh, I called for an update and then they just say there's nothing to update. Mm. It's just a joke. It's so bad. Like you'd think if your spouse was missing, they'd keep in contact or stop in and at least see how you're doing or whatever. Nope. It's awful. I guess it's not something I imagined it would be like. I guess I thought they would keep in contact with me. Like I wouldn't even need to worry about it, but it feels hopeless. It feels, what's the point in searching the truck at that time after it had been at Don's for 2 days anyway, You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I'm assuming, not knowing the police in that area, I'm assuming they weren't used to big cases like this. It was probably not something that happened a lot there.
Okay. So if you don't know what you're doing, in your job, don't you ask for help? Yeah, that's what I do.
And that's, I talk to a lot of people and sometimes I think there's some kind of pride there where they don't want to ask for help because
absolutely. You can tell there's pride there in any video you watch this.
And which department was handling this from the beginning?
Sac County Sheriff, but also the Lakeview Police are involved too because the Lakeview Police are over Wall Lake and that's where I live and he lives. Okay.
And has the state police become involved in any way?
DCI, yeah, they were involved, or they probably still are. I don't know. I've had one. I thought it was a rumor for a while because no one had come talk to me, and then finally, a week or two ago, a guy stopped in and talked to me. But I've talked to one DCI person.
frustrating just not to have a good
Yeah, and
conversation going.
thank God. I don't know how, like, you feel helpless anyway. Thank God, the United Cajun Navy helped initially with the search, because I feel like at least some ground got searched. It wouldn't have been like that had they not. And the other messed up thing, in my opinion, the United Cajun Navy came and searched thousands of acres, and Ken didn't introduce himself to Jake until they found another person that had been missing. Like, this guy is searching for your guy, your missing person, and you don't have the decency to go introduce yourself and thank them. I don't
Hmm.
get it. I don't get it. If someone had been helping me with a job like that, I'd have been ever so grateful.
Yeah,
It's just disgusting. And then I wonder, like, if Dave hadn't gone missing, would they have even found Mark Reesberg? I don't think they would have. Not this soon. He'd have been
and
missing for a lot longer.
and so this is a different missing person from that area.
Yeah.
Did he go missing before
Yeah.
Dave or after?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was missing, like, in October, I believe.
And there's no reason to think that his case was connected to Dave's, is there?
No, at first a lot of people did, I think, which, whatever, who knows, but I do believe that if my husband hadn't gone missing, that Mark would still be missing. Calhoun County had already searched the area where Mark was found, but Jake's group searched again and found him.
Okay. So it was, basically covering old ground that had already been searched, but they were able to find him.
Yeah.
So, I know we've talked a little about the searching the areas, dogs were out there, the search groups out there. Besides the jacket of Dave's that was found, there's nothing else really found outside the truck. Is that correct?
No, I remember when I was there seeing a cigarette butt, but I don't know if whose it was. Like, was it somebody else that had been there before me? Because there was a lot of people around. Um, there's officers, and then um, another truck driver. So I don't know if that cigarette butt was one of theirs or if it was one from whoever did this to him, whoever took him.
Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some stuff that we do know for sure. We do know for sure that Dave stopped at a mile marker 126 truck stop there, and cameras and cell phone records confirm that. Did he interact with anyone at the truck stop, and did anyone recall talking to him or him saying anything? What was going on at that time?
I don't think he interacted with anyone, but I couldn't watch the video. They had a picture of the DOT camera took a picture of him, and I asked to see it early on when the Lakeview police officer sheriff was here, and I asked to see it because I thought I needed to see it with my own eyes to confirm it was him, and I did, and it was really traumatic for me. So when the time came that I could see the video, I didn't want to see it because it makes me sick. Like, it's too much. It's like looking at a ghost. And but my mom and his dad and his brother saw it, so they said it looked normal, like normal Dave. He went. I think he did a search around his truck, an inspection, and was looking around his truck for something. Scrolled through his phone a little bit. Nothing suspicious. But again, I didn't watch I couldn't watch it. I can't.
Reportedly, he was there for 16 minutes. Was he getting gas too, or buying anything at the store? Do you know any of that?
No, I don't think the store was open. There was truck drivers parked there, but I'm told he parked like in front of like he wasn't staying there, so he just like swung in, parked. I think he got a drink. They said something about him drinking. He took a drink and was searching through his truck. I don't know. Maybe he's looking for Copenhagen. I don't know. Um, but he might have been just trying to wake up a little bit too. I mean, it was late at night and he'd already worked all day since early morning hours. So, you know, it takes a haul on you. And sometimes you got to pull over and walk around a little bit, wake up, get some fresh air.
This recording from the truck stop is when it's confirmed that his truck traveled west towards Sac City, but instead of turning left toward the truck destination, it turned north and for about 5 miles. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first time that it seems like something's not going according
Yeah. At
to
one point,
plan.
they thought he went to Brushy Creek, which is like a game, like a public game. I don't know what the word is. It's basically a nature area. And they were asking me, like, the cops were wondering why he would go there. I'm like, there's no reason he would go down there. He wouldn't. There's no reason. There's nothing down there. And well, so it turns out when you park, so as you're traveling, your phone pings will stay with your vehicle. But if you park, your phone pings will start reaching for more towers. So it just kind of looked like he went down there, but he was parked at the time. And so the phone ping wasn't accurate. So they did search the Brushy Creek area because they thought he went down there initially, but then confirmed that that wasn't the case. That he didn't go down to Brushy Creek.
Okay. And you're getting into a little bit of the next thing I wanted to talk about was sort of the electronic trail as far as text or things on his phone, searches he may have had. What can you tell me about the search of his phone and what, if anything, they found of value?
I don't know anything.
Okay.
I can't
Do they
imagine they found anything of value. Dave was not electronically inclined. He was a boy of the 80s before the internet. And he always had to ask our 10-year-old, one of our 10-year-olds is electronic. He's a little techie, you know what I mean? And he would get so frustrated on the phone or on the laptop because he wasn't raised that way with electronics. And he just got on Facebook last year, like about this time. And so he's only like a year into Facebook. He knows how to text. He barely knows how to send a picture. Uh, he's not very techy, so I can't imagine they'd find much on it. But I don't know. They don't tell me.
Is it still being held in evidence?
Yes. So is his
Okay.
wallet.
Okay. Now, did his truck, I know some trucks have like a GPS system or a dash cam camcorder built into it. Was there anything like that in the truck that might provide any more information?
No.
Okay. Yeah. That was something I was hoping could be in there because that might provide a few more clues. But then again, if he's not, as advanced,
His truck is
technically.
it's a 99.
Okay.
I don't know what, but I do know that it doesn't have a lot of things that newer trucks would have.
Okay. Now, I know the police looked into some different leads. There was a search of a farm nearby. There was a search of someone that had bought a ticket someplace, and none of that stuff apparently led anywhere. But did you get any hope along the way? Hey, maybe this is going to result in some answers, or what
No.
was your take on it?
I'd like to say yeah, but I don't think they have anything. I think they're reaching sometimes in the wrong direction, even looking at the truck and seeing my name on the passenger side, and just to know that he never got to drive that yellow truck that he's fixing up. It's just awful. He didn't deserve this.
And I can hear in your voice that this is all weighing on you, and obviously it's recent, so it even hasn't been that long, and now you've had the holidays to go through without Dave, and
It's just never ending limbo, like wondering.
Hmm.
Like I said, I know I've said this before. I know what it's not. And even though he doesn't have his cell phone, he knows my phone number. He knows his dad's phone number. He knows our son's phone number by heart. So even if he doesn't have his phone, if he was able to call, he would. And he hasn't. So something's keeping him from calling. And just the thought of, let's say he's stuck somewhere, not being able to talk to us and knowing how worried we are, it just makes me sick, the thought of it. Because he's so cool, like he calls me at work all the time, and everyone, anyone who answers the phone at work knows Dave, and he wouldn't do this to us. He wouldn't, not on purpose.
So in your mind, that somebody did something to him. It's just a question of who and what and why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. So, a lot of times in a case like this, when there's someone missing, they sort of turn that person's life upside down, shaking out things, looking for anything to sort of point to say, hey, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. Is there anything at all in Dave's past? Any shady people he hung with? Had he ever done drugs? Anything that could even be pointed at as a possibility that you can think of?
No. We didn't even go to bars. We just, if anything, we went out for supper as a family. That's the only thing we did other than work and home, very normal family life. If anything, I mean, a lot of people go to the bar and stuff like that as a couple. We stay home like for 11 years now. It's just been, I mean, I haven't had a hangover in probably 13 years. We don't do anything.
So nothing in his past.
Well, no. Well, let's see, several years ago, before he and I were together, he got pulled over for OWI and he refused a breathalyzer. So the police took him to the hospital to get a blood test. And as the cop was talking to the nurses, he walked out the front doors and he evaded. And he was gone for a couple months, but then he turned himself in. That was years ago. I'm thinking like 15, 16 years ago, a long time ago. But again, he didn't have a family then. He was a single guy. And I can't think of how anything like that would be connected to this.
That is interesting. You mentioned that he was gone for a little while and then turned himself in. Where was he gone at when he was out, not there?
Oh, I think he went to Omaha. He told me, well, not I think. He went to Omaha for a while. Worked and then ended up coming back.
Okay. So obviously there's a lot been going on in this case. It's been getting a lot of attention. It's been getting news media. You've been interviewed a lot. Just trying to get the word out about the case, and hopefully someone out there listening has some information. I know there's a reward too. Can you talk a little about the reward?
Yeah, initially when we talked about the reward, the United Cajun Navy was going to help with it. But then the police said they have a Crime Stoppers reward fund, and it had $2,000 in it. So they opened that, and right now I'm trying to get more people to donate to that to help make someone talk, because 2,000 isn't a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot, but I don't know. I think it needs to be more.
More money being offered, the more somebody might come forward.
Yeah. Entice them.
Sure. And there's also a GoFundMe called Family of David Schultz Missing Iowa Trucker. And that's
Mm-hmm.
been set up also. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, my cousin opened that up for me. I I work at Evapco in Lakeview, Iowa, and I'm the safety coordinator there, but I haven't been able to work since this started. I plan on going back to work here soon, but for now I'm trying to get things in order here and keep the ball rolling to find my husband. Um, so I don't have any income coming in right now. Also, so it's not like Dave was the prime. He wasn't the only provider. I have a good job too, but neither of us are working right now. Well, obviously, but I
And
mean,
hopefully,
I'm thinking I'm gonna go back to work pretty soon because I need to. I've
yeah,
just been staying home and well, with the Christmas and the holidays and stuff, but they're over now, and I don't know. I just need to get back to work because a person could go crazy sitting home like this alone.
I was going to say, it sounds like maybe going back to work would be good for you to get your mind on something else. But then when you get there, is your mind really going to be at work and not
I hope so
thinking about
because
Dave?
I hope it is a little bit because I'm just exhausted thinking about this all the time. But it's my life now. I want not that I want my life to be over, but I just want answers.
Yeah. And I hope that you do get them. Do you have any social media pages, or are there any websites set up specifically for Dave's case?
No, I just my page. I'm only just giving updates about myself primarily because there's just not much to update with Dave's. I don't know. I don't have any new. They keep it tight-lipped, and I'm sure that's how it is. But I've never dealt with anything like this, so it's frustrating to me the lack of communication. And I suppose they probably know that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I just never imagined it would be like this if you had a missing person.
I know it may be maybe something that's tough because of financially or whatever, but since the police aren't really responding to you much, have you thought about whether, even if it's somebody that donates their time, have you thought about consulting a private investigator?
Yeah, I do have a one person who's been helping me with um like if I get a message that's questionable and or asking me to call them, I give it to her because just to protect myself a little bit. Recently I had someone say that they knew where my husband was and that was New Year's Eve. And she said, frankly, I'm surprised you haven't had more because that's normal, but it's heart stopping. Like it makes you physically ill when something like that's going on that there's a possible sighting. But so
Unfortunately, cases like this, they bring out the best of both worlds. They bring out people that are
well, this
legitimately helping.
person, yeah, this person genuinely thought it was him, and
Okay.
it was a sincere. She thought it was him. She thought she found him, like, but then they sent a picture, and I was like, that's not him.
Uh,
So it's one of
yeah.
it. There's been a couple like that. I had someone else send a picture saying, "Is this your husband?" And no, it's
Hmm.
not. But
Yeah.
apparently that's very normal, and I didn't know that that is normal
Yeah.
because I've never been through this before. Thank God.
Yeah. And then there's also the people that are cruel and send things like, "Oh, your husband, you're never going to find him," or "I have the information, but I'm not going to tell you." So
Yeah,
there
and
are
or people
the best of
saying like,
both.
"Oh, all right, time to come home now." Like this, just like it's a joke. It's not funny. That's not
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
And
Well,
people saying that I'm faking it, and I'm sorry, my emotions aren't to your satisfaction, but I'm not faking it. My fake crying, I've heard that one too, and just but generally it's not on my page. It's on like comments on news pages or another site, not on mine. If I see it, I just delete it. I don't even give it. There was one guy that was just I know you had something to do with your husband's disappearance, and like just saying awful things and almost stalking. Like it was weird, scary. I turned that to the police and to my investigator and stuff, but it's like I blocked him right away. To him, that was suspicious. No, I don't have the energy to deal with you. It's pointless. I know I have nothing to do with it. Like, no, I'm dismissing you, actually.
The last thing you want to deal with is somebody accusing you of playing a role in it when you just want to find out what's going on.
Yeah, if I had a role to play in it, would I be this outspoken? No, I mean, in my opinion, I wouldn't. I'd go to Mexico or something. I don't know. I've never, I've never thought about it, but I know I wouldn't advertise it.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem. People see somebody's emotions and say, okay, they're acting. They should be acting a different way, and the truth
Yeah.
is, you don't really know how you would react until you're in that person's shoes. And sometimes people say they have too much emotion or they don't have enough emotion, and a lot of people make a big deal out of what people look like according to what they think they should look like, and that's just not fair.
Well, it's laughable to me because as much as I'm trying to find him or doing anything I can think of to help keep the ball rolling and to not let people forget that he's missing. I mean, it's all I can do. I have kids at home and I'm trying to find their dad.
I hope you do find out the truth about what happened. And again, we're going to do our part to get his story out there. And just, again, a reminder, anyone listening, if you know anything about Dave's whereabouts or anything to do with the case, please call the Lakeview Police Department at 712-657-2513. And again, I can't thank you enough for coming on to talk about the case. And, I hope for your sake and your family's sake, you do find out what happened.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Missing Persons. If you can provide any information to help solve the case we discussed in this episode, please contact the appropriate authorities.
If you enjoy this podcast, please take a moment to tell your friends about Missing Persons and invite them to listen to the show. Word of mouth will help us grow and bring these cases to a larger audience. You can also help us by taking a moment to rate and review Missing Persons on the platform you're listening to us now on. Just a reminder that new episodes of Missing Persons air every other Saturday. If you want to find us on social media, we're on Facebook at facebook.com/missingpersonspod. We're also on Twitter with the handle @missing_pod. And of course, you can find us and contact us through our website, missingpersonspodcast.com. On behalf of Jess Betancourt, this is Mike Morford saying thanks, and we'll see you next time on Missing Persons.